Michael Quinn, and I'm the Vice President of the Meriden Hall of Fame Association. And on behalf of the Board of Directors and previous inductees to the Meriden Hall of Fame, I'd like to welcome you all to the Augusta Curtis Cultural Center and our 43rd annual induction ceremony. Meriden Hall of Fame was formed in 1975, and over the past 43 years, we have inducted hundreds of prominent Meriden citizens to our ranks. This afternoon, we are going to be inducting a doctor of optometry, a woman who has dedicated decades of her life to the Meriden Public Library, a prominent businessman, and a civil rights advocate who was a civil rights advocate before there were civil rights advocates. At this time, I'd like to call upon Deacon Donald Smith of Our Lady Queen of Angels Parish for our invocation.
If you'd all please stand. Embracing Father, today we are gathered to celebrate your gift to us of 4 wonderful people who have volunteered their time, talents, and treasures to their community and to the world. Through your works and the grace poured out by you, George S. Jeffrey, Stanley J. Hancock, Joan S. Edgerly, and Dr. E. Robert Bertolli heard your call to do great and wonderful things here. It is through the selfless dedication of individuals such as these, down through the years, that Meriden has found and maintained the true meaning of community. In thanksgiving and gratitude, let us take a moment in silence to reflect on their character and on the values they witness for us. Heavenly Father, we thank you for these and all of the citizens of Meriden who throughout the decades have given of themselves to make our community a little piece of heaven on earth. Amen.
And with greetings from the city, the Honorable Kevin Scarpati, Mayor of the City of Meriden.
Thank you, Michael. Special thanks to all the volunteers, the board of directors who brought us together this wonderful day as we celebrate many individuals every year for the Meriden Hall of Fame inductions. There are several elected officials among us, so if you'll just bear with me as I introduce those who I believe are in the room, and I will do my best. And if I miss anyone, I'm sure they'll let me know. From the Meriden City Council, we have City Councilor Kathy Batista. In the back, we have City Councilor Brian Daniels, City Councilor Miguel Castro, as well as Deputy Mayor City Councilor Michael Cardona. From our state delegation, sitting up front here, we have Representative Hilda Santiago, Representative Buddy Altabello, Representative Kathy Abercrombie, as well as State Senator Mary Doherty Abrams. If I missed anyone, let me know. Otherwise, we do also have, thank you, we have from the Registrar of Voters Office, Maureen Flynn, as well as our City Clerk, Denise Grandy. A round of applause for all elected officials that are here. I have a more in-depth introduction of one elected official that I'll be calling upon momentarily, but I just want to start by saying thank you to everyone in the room for coming here today and showing your support, because this is what community is all about. As on the back of your program, you'll see over the last several decades, those hundreds of individuals that have been inducted, and today's class of inductions is no different. These are individuals that put community service, that put others above themselves. And that is why we're here today, to just show our thanks and our gratitude to those who've given so much to so many people that we truly can't understand. And I look forward to hearing about the stories that are, some of which are in your program, the clips of their biographies, as well as hearing from their family members and those who put their names forward for today's inductions. I want to thank the past recipients who are in attendance as well, because without all of you, as mayor, as elected officials, we can't do our job. And without the families that are here today, I know that those recipients couldn't do their job. To the Hancock family that's here and that has been in our city for generations, I want to thank you so much. Greg vowed to me many years ago that he will continue to operate as an independent pharmacy as they do today. A colleague was in from Chicago a couple of weeks ago and said to me, "Wow, that's still an independent pharmacy." I said, "Yes, it is." And I told the story about how Greg said they wouldn't sell out. And they're here today to be honored and recognized for their service, and Greg and your father. Of course, Dr. Bertolli, for the work you've done, not only in the field of medicine, but also in the armed forces. I can't thank you enough for your sacrifice, and as well as your family that joins us here today. And Joan Edgerly, who I have known for many, many years, starting out early in my political career. I give a lot of thanks to Joan for her guidance throughout my tenure in political office. I owe a lot of that to you, Joan, and while today we look back and reflect on the time you've given to our library, the first female chairperson of our board, I want to congratulate you very, very much and thank you for being a friend. Thank all of you for being here, and it is with a great honor that I'll introduce another friend of Meriden. This is a man who takes what all of us mean and say and brings our voices back down to Washington, D.C. And advocate on behalf of all of us in our community so that our businesses will continue to thrive and our library has what their needs and the medical services continue to thrive. And that is your senator, our great friend, Richard Blumenthal. I want to thank you for being here, Richard.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Thank you to the mayor for his great leadership in Meriden, which is really known throughout the state, and for really exemplifying the values that bring us here today. And there is a great tradition of leadership and citizenship in Meriden that we celebrate today. And I want to thank you for including me, not only because I'm proud and excited to honor these particular individuals, but also, frankly, I'm inspired to go back to a place where these values are not always celebrated, let alone observed. And so the message here today to me, and I think to our state and our nation, is that these values are alive and well. We celebrate citizenship without regard to party or background or all the other factors that seem so often, regrettably, to divide us. A woman who has lived by the books, so to speak, a great librarian and educator, Joan Edgerly, a wonderful man of the military, Major Bertolli, who has not only provided optometry services, but to members of our military who have suffered from traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress, one of the very severe invisible wounds of war that so plagues our military today, and to Stanley Hancock. I will say I don't do product commercials, but I have a satisfied customer. And thank you for your service, not only as a business person, but to so many organizations, the Meriden Girls Club and Police Benevolent Association. And I want to focus just finally on someone who has no family here. And in fact, if you look at your programs, there's no picture of him. I'm told by Michael that a lot of research was done looking for newspaper accounts and photographs. In a day of selfies, when our pictures are taken, all of us, literally every day, there is no photograph remaining of George Jeffrey. And yet, look at how much he contributed in his day. which sort of brings home to me the truth of the old saying, there's no limit to the amount of good you can do if you don't care who gets the credit for it. Here's a man who, in a time of controversy and testing of character and values, stood up for racial equality, formed the Lincoln Club, made sure that people were welcome in this community regardless of race, and his residence now is on the Freedom Trail, even though there is no lasting photograph of him. So for any of us who care a lot about public awareness and recognition, there is a lot of value in that anonymous contribution that we celebrate today. And I want to thank the Meriden Hall of Fame for reminding us of that fact and reminding us of the importance of good citizenship, and to Meriden, all of Meriden, for reminding us what's important about being an American and what's important about America. So thank you to Michael, to Jeffrey, and all of the folks who made today possible, to all of your families who are so supportive of the work that you do day in and day out to give back to Meriden. And again, this day will inspire me, as will looking to the back of your programs and all of the wonderful people who've been honored in the past since 1975. It really is an extraordinary roster of great citizens and good citizenship, and thank you so much for including me today. Congratulations. Keep up the great work. Thank you.
Our first inductee in the category of Science and Medicine is Dr. E. Robert Bertolli, OD. And to present Dr. Bertolli is his sister, Lisa Bertolli Marchetti.
I want to thank you all for being here, and thanks our friends and family and loved ones and the other inductees and your families. Congratulations. As you know, this is our third family member. Mom was 1985, Jean Tambourine Bertolli in the arts. Dad was Eugene E. Bertolli in 1995. And now we have my brother, commonly known as E-Bob, Dr. E. Robert Bertolli, OD, Major E. Robert Bertolli, Chief of Optometry, 150th Special Ops Wing Medical Group, Kirkland Air Force Base, New Mexico Air National Guard. Born and raised in Meriden, we were blessed with loving family and friends, and you know who you are out here, all of you, thank you. And we learned the meaning of faith, family, community service, patriotism, and making a difference for the better. And that's how my brother has done his career and his life. Graduating from optometry school, he went into advanced practice optometry and wanting to take things further to do more for his patients and people that needed help. He went into behavioral optometry and vision therapy for TBI patients, sports, vision, ocular coordination, and then he became a drug recognition expert, further using vision science to help law enforcement. And he's done over 18 years of pro bono work, services to Connecticut law enforcement and other states and martial organizations around the country. Still wanting to do more, and having had many veterans in our family from World War I and World War II, Bob wanted to do more for the armed services and his country. So he applied for and was awarded by the Secretary of the Air Force a miracle age waiver because he was already in his 50s, and he passed the physical with flying colors, and they made special exception for him because of all he had to offer. At Kirkland Air Force Base, he's chief of optometry. He went into a base that had no optometrist, no vision department. He created their optometric office, and he runs that office and takes care of our military, their families, people out there. And then in 2017 came the Louisiana Humanitarian Mission. And for that mission, there's a large group of people that were in need of all kinds of medical services. And all the military branches came together for this special mission to work together and provide health clinics of all different kinds for the people that needed their services. My brother organized and led the vision mission there and the optometric clinic and tended to those people. So there's many, many more accomplishments and honors and papers and books he's written and accredited courses he's taught, but I'm going to ask you to look at his bio on the web, and you can see a very long list of things, which I'm not going to read off everything to you today, but you can, on the Hall of Fame website, you can see his bio or his CV. I'm only going to mention 2 awards in particular that were really important and really touched me. In 2011, by his peers, he was awarded the Connecticut Optometrist of the Year, and my mom and dad were able to go see him receive that award at that ceremony, and that is a memory that will stay with us forever. And then in 2017, after the Louisiana mission, he was awarded the 2017 Air Force Optometric Society Reserve Officer of the Year. And now today, we're honored to have my brother, an inductee in the 2019 Hall of Fame, along with your families. So I'd like to present you my brother, who I'm very, very proud of, as you can tell.
I found these on the way here, so hopefully I can read them. So I want to thank you all for this honor. Congratulations to the family of George Jeffrey, if there's anybody here from his family, Stanley Hancock's family, and Joan Edgerly and her family. So thank you, Hall of Fame officers, directors, and members, and all the support from my family and friends. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the inspiration of a lot of folks. First, my mom and dad, both inductees, as Lisa mentioned. They created an atmosphere of striving for knowledge and skills and service to people and community. Boy Scout Troop 6, its members and leaders. My brother from another mother, Detective and Marshal Robert Pocobello, for his law enforcement service. My vision science mentor, Police Surgeon Gus Forkiotis. A legacy of military service from my Grandpa Tambourine, Aunt Louise Bertolli. She was the first one in a family of 5 to enlist during World War II, and all the other brothers followed after her. Uncles Vincent, Richard, and Dr. L. Bertolli, and then my dad. And then my talented sister. She always takes care of people. She took care of me in my darkest days. And her husband, Guy. And so my treating eye disease wasn't challenging enough, so I learned vision therapy and treatment of traumatic brain injury, and then vision science related to forensics and impaired driving investigations. This is where specially trained law enforcement officers can do testing that reveals if impairment is from one or more of the 7 categories of central nervous system acting drugs, or a medical rule-out, or no impairment. I provide the vision science as a subject matter expert and associate instructor for Connecticut and agencies nationwide, including the International Chiefs of Police Drug Recognition Expert Program. And I'm just going to go off script for a second. I spent time in Joe Arpaio's jail doing evals on arrestees up to 23 hours after arrest. Impairment from marijuana. It's unlike alcohol. Alcohol is water-bound. Marijuana is fat-bound. It stays in your body forever, but the impairment is much longer. So folks that do marijuana are likely to be impaired the next day. So anybody that wants to do recreational marijuana, don't go to work, don't do your taxes, don't operate anything that moves, and you're a fall risk, a stroke risk, and a number of other things. So marijuana is not the nice drug that everybody thinks it is. The NIDA studies are done with marijuana. It's very low in percentage. Reality is 20 to 99% is what's out there. So it's not grandpa's pot anymore. And then CBDs, I've been discussing with the investigator. We don't know who's going to get an elevation in intraocular pressure that can be quite dramatic with CBDs. So there's a lot of benefit with CBDs. But it's like corticosteroids, 20% of the population we know will get an elevation in eye pressure. So we routinely look at their eyes for the optic nerves, their eye pressure, make sure they're not developing glaucoma from the drug. So, just wanted to do an aside. Not many people are aware of the dangers. So, my sister, when my busy schedule gave me the time to write multiple papers and courses, to graduate from the Connecticut Police Academy's first drug recognition expert school, and to travel and deliver vision science lectures. Later, my sister Lisa, brother-in-law Guy, family friend Mary Lou gave support, allowing me to physically train, lose 75 pounds in 3 months, pass a military physical, and find myself in Reserve Officers Training School on my 58th birthday. Without Lisa's help, I have not have been accrued the vision science skills that made me attractive enough for the Secretary of the Air Force to grant me an age waiver, where the cutoff is 34 years of age. So now I proudly serve as a traditional reservist, a medical officer on the 50th Special Ops Wing, Kirkland Air Force Base. My wife Dorothy strongly supports me as an aerospace medical officer, knowing that I plan to serve until my 68th birthday. I don't fit any of the regs. I don't get a retirement. I was supposed to be out age 62. They had a powwow in Washington at the Bureau, and they're allowing me to stay until I'm age 68 without having to do further age waivers. So I thank the good Lord for all the many blessings, including this honor. So in short, after a lot of hot air, the award really should belong to my sister. Thank you very much.
And on behalf of the Meriden Hall of Fame Association, we're going to present you with a smaller version of the plaque that will be hanging in City Hall for all eternity.
Thank you very much. This is the only time I wore the Honeymoon's Jackie Gleason hat. I was always dying to wear it. Thank you.
Our next inductee in the category of community service is Joan Edgerly, and to present her is Irene Massey.
I just have a few words to say about Joan. Some of it might be already written, but I'm going to say them out loud in case you don't read your program. Good afternoon also to everyone, and thank you. We from the board want to say thank you to everyone that comes, because it's a lot of work putting all this on, and we love seeing everyone here to honor the people that are being honored today. Welcome everyone once again for attending today's Hall of Fame ceremony. You all have in your program Joan's accomplishment that qualified her for her induction. But here is some family history that helped her achieve her accomplishments along the way. Joan had a German mom and a Yankee dad, so she told me. She lost her mom when she was 10 years old and her dad when she was 24. She was left with a brother, 13 years older, and a sister, 15 years older. Joan married in 1960 and had 3 daughters, Nancy Lee, Melissa, and Heidi. Joan graduated in 1959 from UConn, then went on to Southern Connecticut State University to get a master's degree in education. Her first job was a teacher in 4th grade in Stratford, Connecticut. After her second marriage in '77, she worked in Meriden's health department and became a library assistant at our police academy in 1986. At that time, she went back to Southern Connecticut State University for a master's in library sciences. From '88 to 2002, she was a library media specialist in Kensington, Connecticut, and during that time was also on the Meriden Library Board. Joan went on our Meriden Library Board in 1980, became president in 1984, and is still serving as president. And here is a little tidbit she told me. Mozart wrote his 35th symphony for her family. It was called the Hafner, which was her mom's maiden name. After 40 continuous years in the library field, the vast majority in our own Meriden Library, Joan is well deserving of the honor she is receiving today. Thank you, Joan.
Thank you so much. Actually, probably for the first time in my life. I'm sorry, can you hear me now? Oh, okay. I think I'm somewhat speechless. Thank you, Irene. Oh, there you are, for coming up and introducing me. I really appreciate it. I am overwhelmed at being the recipient of this amazing award, but I am more pleased for the attention it brings to the Meriden Public Library. I could never have done this on my own. I feel that the encouragement that has been given me by my family and my friends is what has made this possible. And because of that, I would like to introduce my family to you today. My oldest daughter, Nancy Lee Calanda, please stand. Nancy Lee is a property manager for homes that she owns. She and her husband own in Virginia Beach. Her husband, Jake Calanda, please stand, Jake. Jake is a former Navy SEAL, 31 years. He now does some kind of secret job that they explain to me and intentionally make sure I don't understand what it is that he does. My grandson, Clay, is an EMT. Clay, stand, please. Clay is an EMT at Jefferson Hospital in Philadelphia. He also is a very accomplished musician. My daughter Heidi is the general sales manager for the Six Flags in Agawam, Massachusetts. Please stand, Heidi. And I apologize because I skipped over my middle daughter, Melissa. I'll probably never hear the end of it. Melissa, please stand. I'm sorry. but Melissa teaches 6th grade math in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And I do have to tell you, there are 5,300 teachers in Virginia Beach, and Melissa was named one of the top 5. And believe it or not, I told her not to be a teacher. And I have introduced Heidi. Did you stand?
I did.
All right, very good. And now I will introduce, well, see, I didn't even have to tell Matt to stand. That's Heidi's husband. And he works for Travelers in business intelligence and analytics. I didn't even know what that meant, but I think it's a pretty important job. Lastly, but not the least important, I want to mention my late husband, Glenn. Glenn was the most phenomenal person I think that I ever could have met. And he went totally above and beyond in his constant support of me and in my passion for libraries. Unfortunately, he passed away over 14 years ago, but I know that he's still watching out for me and making sure that I don't leave the library. Sorry about that, but I certainly could not have asked for more. I also would like to recognize Karen Rosler, who was kind enough to come today. Karen was the director at the Meriden Public Library for, I think it was 10 years, and she and I worked very closely together. I was very fortunate to have her as our director because she did a great many things for our library. So I want to thank Karen for coming today because she had another option that she could have gone to. All of my thanks to those who have come here to support me. A lot of friends that I made through my girls who spent a lot of time at our house and were always more than welcome. I never knew how many people I was having for dinner or how many people were going to stay overnight. I should have charged them. Didn't think of that then. But I want to thank everyone who has come here today. I would try to name you, but in my current state of fright, I know I would forget somebody, probably most of you. I would like to congratulate all the other inductees, though, because I think this is a great honor, and I do appreciate it, even though it surprised me greatly. The thing I am happiest about, though, is that it does bring some recognition to our fantastic library, and I hope that all of you who do support it will continue to, and those of you who might have to think about it will come and visit it and see how wonderful it is and how lucky we are in Meriden to have a facility like that. So please, as I close, keep our library in your minds and do what you can to further the work that it does do for our community. Thank you very much.
And Joan, on behalf of the Meriden Hall of Fame Association, will present you with the take-home version of the plaque that will be hanging in City Hall.
Thank you very much.
Our next inductee in the category of Business and Commerce is Stanley Hancock, and to present the award and to accept the award is his wife, Lorraine Hancock.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah. Just don't ever ask me to drive the getaway car. I mean, with 89 years of arthritis, and you name it, it takes me 10 minutes to get in and 15 minutes to get out. And the police would all be here before I could do it. But anyway, this is about my husband. I, first of all, would like to thank all the people who made this possible. I would like to name names, but I know I'd forget somebody, and I certainly don't want to do that. All right, my husband was never a graceful receiver. He always wanted to be a giver. And just yesterday, I was looking through some of the material that was written about the Hall of Fame winners, Hall of Honors winners, and something jumped right out of the paper at me. And it was about my husband, and it said, not one to ever want or seek public recognition. And that is very, very true. When Stanley was still very well, it was about 22 years ago, 23 years ago, because he's been gone for almost 19 years. When he was very well, our children gave us a very nice big party in one of the nice restaurants. And the occasion was my retirement from teaching and his 40 years in business. Now, you know, at any one of these parties, there's always someone who yells, speech, speech, speech. So, being ladies before gentlemen, I got up. I have no idea what I said. It was 22 years ago, and I'm lucky I remember what I had for dinner last night. But anyway, I got up and I started to talk about all the teams he sponsored, Little League and all that. Then I started to talk about all the flower sales we would have in the pharmacy parking lot. And not only the flower sales, but the car washes and you name it. And then I spoke for a couple minutes about how he was a very, very good Rotarian and really gave a lot to the Rotary Club. But most of all, he was an excellent father and never, never missed a game, a recital, or whatever. And then it was time for me to sit down. So it was his turn. And he got up, he looked at me, he looked at the crowd, and he said what she said. And that was it. And I thank everybody very, very much for this day. Thank you so much. Thank you.
On behalf of the Meriden Hall of Fame Association, we are pleased to present you with the take-home version of the plaque that's going to be hanging in City Hall. And I think I'm going to have you stay up here and just run the rest of the ceremony.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this. I can get back by myself.
And our last inductee is the late George Jeffrey in the category of Historic Person. And to present and accept the award on behalf of Mr. Jeffrey is Dr. Sherwin Borsick, President of the Meriden Historical Society.
Thank you very much, Michael. Good afternoon, everybody. I get to clean up today, and it's my honor to present to you George S. Jeffrey, a man from Meriden's past who affected our community in many ways that we still feel today. George S. Jeffrey was born in 1830 in Middletown, Connecticut, and he migrated to Meriden in 1852, where he opened up a barber shop, which he operated for 45 years, located on West Main Street, across from Colony Street, very near to our beloved traffic tower. George became a very well-known member of the Republican Party, and he was active at the local, state, and national level, advocating for African Americans to attain equality, both civil, economic, and political. He and his brother, R.A. Jeffrey, were instrumental in the organization and creation of the Lincoln Colored People's Association of Meriden, which was later known as the Lincoln Club. He was the president of the Lincoln Club from 1878 to 1886. The club expanded their membership to men of color throughout the Northeast, and they held an annual banquet each year marking the birthday of President Abraham Lincoln and celebrating the Emancipation Proclamation. The Lincoln Club banquet grew in popularity each year, and by 1883, over 250 participants were present, including the governors, many dignitaries, members of the press, and the Associated Press as well. This event was held at the Meriden Armory. The Lincoln Clubs began to proliferate throughout the Northeast, and Meriden remained its flagship club. In 1887, George, his brother, and a delegation of African American citizens went before the Insurance Committee in Hartford, advocating for a bill to prevent discrimination against people of color by insurance companies. The Connecticut legislature soon passed a bill later that year preventing discrimination of people of color by insurance companies. His speech to the committee was so well received that it was printed in its entirety by the Meriden Daily Republican paper, and it covered more than 2 entire pages. George S. Jeffrey was a delegate to the 1880 Chicago Republican Presidential Convention, and he represented people of color from Connecticut at that convention. He held the office of doorkeeper of the state capitol for several terms and was appointed member of the New Haven County jury for 30 years. He was also a lineal descendant of the Montauk tribe and a member of their Council of Administration. George was 76 years old at the time of his death in Meriden in December of 1906. He is buried at Walnut Grove Cemetery. His obituary noted that he was a very well-respected member of the Meriden Republican Party, and his trademark was the use of his cane or umbrella to emphasize his remarks at town meetings or political gatherings. He left his wife Martha and 6 children. Their house at 66 Hillside Avenue was recognized by the Connecticut Freedom Trail for his advocacy for people of color. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and on behalf of the Meriden Hall of Fame Association, we would present you with this plaque honoring his induction today, and we hope that the Meriden Historical Society will find an appropriate place to have that.
Sure will. Thank you very much.
At this time, if I could have the members of our state delegation and the mayor and Senator Blumenthal come back up. We'll do the presentation of the citations that we have from each of them. And if the, if the 4 acceptors could also come up.
So while they're coming up, I would just like to note that I often do this, and I told you they'd let me know. I did forget 2 other elected officials from our Board of Education. We have Kim Pandiani as well as Rob Gujinski. So, Alan Provost as well. So each of these recipients are receiving proclamations, citations from the Office of the Mayor and the City Council, as well as some gifts from the City of Meriden. I'm not going to read the citations as they are pretty similar to what is in the bios, but again, as I stated earlier, I can't thank the honorees enough for their efforts in our city, their families for all of your support, for being here today to just remind us what community is about, and as we continue to look upon our city of Meriden, what these individuals have done to forever change the landscape of our city. I thank you very, very much. Senator Blumenthal.
Senator Murphy and I have certificates of special recognition from the Senate of the United States, just to allay any concerns you have. These certificates were approved by an overwhelming bipartisan majority of the United States Senate, so we don't do that all that often. So I'm very honored to be here and to say to our honorees, thank you for your extraordinary service to our state and to our nation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Representative Hilda Santiago, and we do have a state citation that includes our state senator, Mary Abrams, state rep, Kathy Abercrombie, and state rep, Buddy Altobello. So that's the big one. And we do have one from Senator Murphy, and you will be getting Senator Blumenthal's by Monday, because I did forget it in Senator Murphy's office.
I wasn't going to mention that.
But I feel guilty because it's not here, because you're going to ask, where's Senator Blumenthal's? But it was my job to pick him up on Friday from his office, and I did forget, so I apologize.
You have my vote.
Thank you. And I want to say congratulations to all the honorees, well-deserved, and especially to Joan. I've gotten to know Joan over the years, and you are an inspiration and a mentor to all other people that go to the library and all the activities. I mean, you even got me to do mini golf as a fundraiser. So I want to thank you for all you've done. And I know that you love Meriden, and you always have Meriden in your heart. So thank you.
Good afternoon, I'm Senator Mary Darty Abrams, and I have the citations for Mr. Jeffrey. And I just want to say that I'm proud to be able to give these citations to you, and I'd like to thank the Meriden Hall of Fame Association for recognizing Mr. Jeffrey. I think it speaks to the honor and congratulations to all our awardees tonight, because it says to them that not only are we expressing a recognition of what they've done for our community and our country, but also what an honor it is to say that they were from Meriden. So I thank you all for what you've done, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Representative Kathy Abercrombie, and I'm so proud to be here today and also congratulate all of the recipients. And mine is for Mrs. Hancock, and I have to tell just a little story. So, as someone that was born and raised here, my brother worked at Hancock's, and Hancock's has been a staple in this community all these years, and we are very thankful for that. And I have to say that I'm sure your husband is looking down and could not be prouder of your son and all the work that he does at Hancock. That still goes into our nursing homes. He's one of the few pharmacies that even in a storm will open his store for someone that needs something. So it's your husband's legacy that made him the man that he is, and for that we thank you very much.
Thank you. Buddy Altobello, State Representative also. I'd just like to congratulate
Dr. Mrs. Hancock, and Joan, who I'm fond of calling President for Life of the Library Board, and Doctor, I'm receiving the award for Mr. Jeffrey, an outstanding event, and thank you to all of you who attended and the Hall of Fame. Thanks very much.
All right, thank you all. And before we conclude today, I'd also like to represent some former officials who are in the room. Former City Councilor Tony Tomasetti. Former State Senator Len Suzio. Past Meriden Hall of Fame board member and president Frank Ridley. The Honorable James Abrams, Judge of the Superior Court. And I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize our current board of directors who are here today, and I'll have you hold your applause till the end. In attendance with us are President Jeffrey Crossan, Treasurer Vincent Muley, Membership Secretary Joseph Zajac, and board members Pierre Blanchette, Brian Cofrancesco, Roger Kemp, Lisa Marchetti, Guy Marchetti Jr., Hilda Santiago, David Sweedock, honorary board members Robert Conroy and Irene Massey, and our board members who are not able to be with us today, Recording Secretary Gail Edgington, David Edgington, Richard Fuqua, John Hogarth, and honorary member George Esposito. And we are also fortunate to have three past inductees with us today. Hector Cardona, Chief Robert Kaczynski, and the woman who falls into multiple categories as a former elected official, a current board member, and also Hall of Fame inductee, Irene Massey. Each year, the Meriden Hall of Fame receives a number of nominations for consideration by our nominations committee for induction into the Hall of Fame and placement on our ballot. Anyone can submit any person of merit and prominence for inclusion in the Hall of Fame, but only those who are paid members of the Meriden Hall of Fame are allowed to vote. So hopefully many of you will consider joining the Meriden Hall of Fame and thus securing your right to have a say in which of our past former citizens gets inducted into the Meriden Hall of Fame. And before we adjourn, I would again like to thank all of you for being here. This has been another wonderful ceremony, and it wouldn't be possible without the efforts of a lot of people and the attendance of all of you, and we greatly appreciate that. And to conclude our ceremony today, I would call Deacon Donald Smith back up for the benediction.
Everlasting God, we thank you for the diverse personalities, abilities, passions, and ways of seeing the world with which you have blessed our beloved community. We look at George and Stanley and Joan and Dr. Bertolli, and we are stirred to ask of you, let us learn to love our neighbors more deeply, so that we and our descendants may live out our lives among a peaceful and just community. Inspire us to use our creative energies to strengthen the bonds among all Meriden citizens and to overcome the obstacles of intolerance and indifference. Show us the ways of forgiveness, of loving our neighbor, even those most outcast, as ourselves, and cover our community with your peace. Amen.
And this concludes the 43rd Annual Meriden Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Again, thank you all for being here, and we invite you to stay, mingle, chat, and eat and drink what we have over here. And I also would be remiss if I did not recognize a group that has been with us for several ceremonies now, the musical group Inner Groove, who is seated over there. And with that, the ceremony is over. Thank you again for coming.